Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to another episode of the Think Global podcast. Today's date is June 28th, 2025. It's a Saturday here in Doha, Qatar, and this is episode 39. I got my good friend Mike Hall up here with me today. We're going to talk about and discuss about sports nutrition, which is something that's very, very important, especially in light of the summer program that Azomco has upcoming. And so something that's going to be very beneficial, not to just to our players, but players all around Africa. So welcome to the podcast, Mike, and I'm glad we can do it in person.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. What's up, Azomco Nation? Nice to be back with you guys. I've worked with some of you guys in the past, so it's great to be back again.
Cool. So one of the things that we do on the Think Global podcast, Mike, is we have all of our guests that come on because we're an international platform and we do Think Global. We have all of our guests come on and we discuss, we have what we call the world call. The world call is when we give 10 seconds to the guest to name off some of the countries that you've been to.
This is where we input the world call.
Yeah. So right now we're going to put Mike Hall on the world call. Ready, go.
Cool, so I've been to, obviously, Qatar. I'm from the U.S., been to Georgia, a bunch of places in Europe, Spain, the U.K., Italy, South Africa, been to Egypt, Albania.
All right, cool.
Tunisia.
I think the 10 seconds is up, man. Well, congratulations, and that's very, very interesting, well diverse group of nations that you picked. Why don't you just talk about a little bit about your background, maybe in sports, and then how you kind of became NDTR.
Yeah, NDTR. So I'm Michael. I'm an NDTR. It's a nutrition and dietetic technician registered. It's U.S. board certified. So I guess a little bit about me is, so I met Yusuf. We were teaching English at a high school out here in Qatar, and then it was around the pandemic that I sort of shifted my focus from teaching English, and I wanted to do something a little bit different. So that's when I went back to school to get my degree in dietetics. So that's what I did with that. And then as for me, I grew up playing a lot of sport. I played basketball for a little bit. I'm a little bit too short now, I think, to be competitive. So sort of shifted away from that. But I played soccer, played football, and then my main sport of focus was wrestling, and now I train jiu-jitsu.
For sure. So that's very, very impressive, very, very interesting. So just talk about like from an athlete's perspective, because a lot of athletes just think, it's all about on-court stuff, meaning the more you practice and, the better skills that you have, the more successful that you'll be. But how important is it for athletes to take care of their bodies off the court in terms of nutrition and in terms of like hydration and preparation for matches or, just competition in general?
Yeah, so nutrition, I feel like, is such an overlooked aspect of not only for athletes, but just as for the general population. So many issues as well as, things that make us successful all stem from nutrition. So taking nutrition seriously on and off the court and fueling your body for the demands that it needs, especially as an athlete, it can make or break a season. And that's what's going to allow you to hustle a little bit extra to try and get those rebounds or to try and get those boards, to try and, drive into the lane or whatever sport it is that you're doing. The nutrition can really just give you that little advantage. And when you get to the, top level of sports, it's, everyone's so competitive and so equal that any little small advantage that you can take advantage of is just going to make the world of difference. And nutrition is one of those keys that can unlock that component to really bring you to that next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can definitely attest to that as, playing years of professional basketball. The margin of error for the competition is very, very slim.
Yeah.
And it's hard to really separate yourself from the next person. You might go to a tryout where there's, 50 guys who are all at the same type of level. What can you do in order to make yourself stand out in the eyes of the coaches or the recruiters? So it could be something just like, the fluid intake or the protein that you have the previous couple of days that can give you that extra boost. So now at Azomco, we're based in Africa, in Kigali, Rwanda. And one of the issues that we have with our players is, the lack of access to proper nutrition, or just in general nutrition in general. You know what I'm saying? So why don't we talk about a little bit about our challenge that we're facing specifically with our players. So now we're in the off season. We have some players who we brought from Division Two. Shout out to Shima, Flex, and Blaze. We talking about you, man. And they need to gain weight. They need to gain weight in order for them to be more productive for a Division One season for next season. So, what are some suggestions that you can give to them from your professional background of how they can gain weight? Why don't we just kind of break it down step by step?
Sure. So, in order to gain weight, you could say it's as simple as the calories in, calories out. And this works for gaining weight or losing weight. So for gaining weight, we need to be eating more calories than we're burning throughout the day. And for a professional athlete and for a basketball player, that could look like a lot of calories. So you need to be making sure that you're hitting your enough carbohydrates to fuel your performance on the court. You want to be making sure that you're intaking enough protein to help your muscles recover and repair. And you also need to be making sure that you're getting enough fat, because that's going to help you not only to gain some weight, but it's also going to help with some hormone regulation, which will then, and everything's all linked together. It's not just as simple as calories in, calories out, but when you're hitting all of your targets that you need to, everything sort of comes together as it should.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me. So what are some like real practical tips? So say the boys that are back in Kigali, they're skinny and they want to bulk up a little bit. Maybe they're doing like home exercises, push-ups, sit-ups, core work, squats. I told them specifically to run the hills in Kigali. So I hope they're doing that to develop their legs and to make their legs stronger. But now in terms of eating, what are maybe some foods or some combinations or recipes or whatever that could kind of give them what you're describing?
Yeah, so typically if you were to read, let's say, like a nutrition label, everything's gonna be based off of that 2,000 calorie diet, that's not gonna be enough calories for what an athlete is going to need. The 2,000 calorie diet is gonna be much closer to someone's like base metabolic rate, or just kind of like the bare minimum calories that they're going to need for a day. So you're going to need to be eating above that threshold, probably somewhere closer to maybe 3,000 or even 4,000 calories, which once you're having to eat that much food, it can almost become a chore. So to be eating foods that are calorically dense, meaning that they have a lot of calories, but maybe the volume isn't as big, is going to be key.
So real quick, sorry to interrupt you, but what type of, like, for example, what type of foods, or what's an example of that's
so yeah, so like brown rice, for instance, compared to white rice, is going to have more calories than the white rice. Same thing with something like a sweet potato would have more calories than your white potato. Eating your whole grains, like your brown breads and your seeded breads, again, is going to have more calories than a white bread. Peanut butter is also something that's really calorically dense. Like 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, you can get 120 calories, and it's like this big. So you can eat that, you can get a lot of calories, and then you can still eat everything on top of that. Dried fruits can be really good. Your fats, like using your olive oils, even something like butter isn't necessarily the worst thing to have. You could kind of be saying, oh, it's high in cholesterol, but you're an athlete, you're able to kind of get away with a little bit more. Same thing like avocados. Again, they have a lot of good healthy fats in it that can help you to just get the calories in that you're going to need to try and help boost your weight.
Okay. Yeah, so let's take a kind of set the environment for the audience. And by the way, I want you guys to go ahead and subscribe. We're on YouTube and Spotify. It helps the algorithm and try to spread this message far and wide. Make sure you turn on the notifications, and we really appreciate that. So in the landscape of Rwanda, beans, they eat a very heavy carb diet. It's beans, rice, potatoes, but then there's other things that are natural to the landscape as well. Avocados, mangoes, these type of things. So if one of these kids or one of our players back home, if you could kind of mix up, based upon beans, avocados, toast, bread, potatoes, and rice, what could you kind of suggest for them to kind of come up with,
So rice and beans is actually a really good combination of food that you can be eating because it makes up what's known as a complete protein. So rice on its own and beans on its own, they're both lacking some of the essential amino acids that we need. But when you combine them together, then they complement each other so that you're getting a complete protein that's going to help your body and your muscles to repair and recover better. So rice and beans is a really good option that you can eat. It's just now making sure that you're eating enough of it to be hitting your your carbohydrate goals, your protein goals, as well as your fat goals.
Okay. What's your opinion on protein powder in it of itself?
So protein powders are a great supplement that you can use to help hit your protein goals. So protein powders are good. Weight gainers can also be good because sometimes it as an athlete, maybe you're a student athlete, maybe you have a job, maybe you have your family obligations. It can be difficult day in and day out to be hitting all of your targets consistently every day, which is what we want to try and do. So having something like a protein powder or a weight gainer can just help to alleviate some of the the stress or the time commitments that maybe you don't have to fully focus and dial in. So protein powders are a great way to supplement your diet, but they need to be used as a supplement and not as the main driving factor behind it. You still need to be focusing on getting your main nutrients from just the foods that you're eating and then supplementing with the protein powder.
Okay. So this will probably be our last question, but so if they do have the protein powder, how would they use that? Because in order to maximize the benefit, there's a little bit of ways that you're supposed to use it as opposed to just trying to drink it willy-nilly. Should it come post-workout, pre-workout? Is it once, twice, 3 times a day? What would you be your suggestion?
So it's a really good question, and kind of with anything nutrition related, it's going to be based off of the individual and their needs. But as a general rule of thumb, a good time to take a protein powder as a supplement could be first thing in the morning. You've just been fasting, or you've been sleeping for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, however long it is. So when you wake up in the morning, your body's going to be hungry for protein, especially if you've done an evening workout. So taking some protein in the morning is always a good idea, and then taking protein immediately after your workout can also help to fill in those little microfiber tears that you've made from your workout.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate the advice, man. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Hopefully the boys will listen to some of the suggestions that you make. And I know it's difficult for them, but it's something that, just like working out and becoming a better basketball player, work on your nutrition is something that takes time as well, and a lot of understanding. It's not going to happen immediately. You need to practice it until it becomes a habit. Why don't you shout out your company here and tell them kind of what you do with the UFC fighters in preparation for their competitions, and make sure you shout out your Instagram and anywhere else online where they can follow you.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm Mike. My Instagram handle is Mixed Martial Mike. And currently what I'm doing is I'm a combat sports nutrition coach. So I help essentially various fighters. Maybe they're a kickboxer, a jiu-jitsu athlete, or maybe an MMA cage fighter, and I help them to get into their weight category, whether most of the time they're trying to lose weight, which is the opposite of what we're doing now. But occasionally we do have guys that need to maybe go up into the next weight class or focus on essentially changing the body composition. But even if people are losing weight or gaining weight, the foundation still stays the same of making sure that we're hitting the proper amount of goals that we need to be hitting in order to be fueling our performance. Because as an athlete, the number one thing that we're always worried about is performance and boosting the performance through nutrition. So my company's Fueling the Fighter. You can go check it out or check me out on Instagram at Mixed Martial Mike.
Cool, cool. I appreciate it, man.
Cool.
Thank you so much. And best of luck with you and everything you're doing. It's very, very important. All right, guys, that's it for the episode 39 of the Think Global podcast here with Mr. Mike Hall, speaking about sports nutrition. Make sure you subscribe and follow this channel all across the internet on Instagram and YouTube and Spotify. Until then, you guys, take care of yourselves and think global.